Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lowen Behold Podcast. And once again, for the second episode in a row, we have Caleb returning to the show.
Yo.
Similar to the last episode, we're just reacting to the trade deadline. Last episode, we covered Jaren Jackson Jr., James Harden. Basically, the main ones up to the February 3rd. There's still 2 more days of the deadline that we haven't covered, so we're gonna cover that. First up, we got Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they gave up, 3 first-round picks back to...
I know it was a 2026 first and then 3 future seconds.
Okay, so mix them around. What are your thoughts on that trade, Caleb? Who do you think won that trade?
I think for Oklahoma City, it's kind of worth it. They have way too many picks right now that they just can't use all of them. The 3 future seconds, they've got a horde of those as well. I think for Philadelphia, it kind of makes sense. You're ready to go all in on Maxey and Edgecombe. So McCain, fun player. I like watching him play. I like the way he plays. He's horrible on defense, but he was a rookie for 15 games before he, got injured. So I like it for both sides. Oklahoma City gets a cheap young player. Maybe they can, just let him rest, let him get healthy, get right, and then turn him into something. Philadelphia, you're kind of in this weird pseudo-contending, pseudo-rebuild because we all know Joel Embiid's towards the end of his real playing career. Paul George is now, suspended. He's towards the end of his career. So I like it. It kind of gives them some future capital that maybe they flip later or they actually use and get some more young talent.
Yeah. I think Oklahoma City definitely bought high on McCain because, like you said, he played 20 games his rookie year. He was good his rookie year, but he's been horrible this year. He's been sent to the G League multiple times. He just hasn't been that guy he was last year. And granted, a big part of that is when he did play last year, Maxey wasn't playing. You didn't have Embiid. You didn't have Paul George. Jared McCain didn't play with any of the other All-Stars. So his numbers, I think, were a little inflated. Granted, he was efficient for those 20 games. And he's a wonderful shooter. But it's just, I don't know if he's as good as the haul that OKC gave up. But also, like you said, they can afford to give it up. And with what they gave up, Jared McCain's a better prospect than anybody they would have gotten with any of those picks. Because I believe all of them were either late. I believe the 2026 one is, a late first rounder, right?
Probably, yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what pick they traded. And then three future seconds. Jared McCain is, at least you can see him becoming a good 3-and-D wing, or 3-and-D shooting guard on this OKC team. But also at the same time, I think he's more of an injury safeguard because I don't see him getting minutes over AJ Mitchell, over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously, over Lou Dort, over Jalen Williams. Who are you going to take minutes away from on this OKC team? I didn't even mention Casey Wallace or Alex Caruso. Who are you taking minutes away from to play Jared McCain?
I don't think he's taking minutes from anyone for now.
Yeah.
I think he's a future asset, essentially just, in a weird way, he's like a trade-in stash instead of a draft-in stash.
Yeah.
He's a good release valve, like you said, an injury safety.
I think that's gonna be his role in OKC because I don't see him moving the needle for them any more than it already was, but with the current roster. The biggest thing with OKC is still Jalen Williams' wrist, and I just don't see Jared McCain making an impact on this team unless, like I said, AJ Mitchell, if he goes down and they just need a knockdown shooter, sure, play him. But you've got other players who do similar things to McCain on offense, but are just much, much, much better defensive players already on the roster.
I know SGA is out for a little bit of time. We don't know the exact timeline for him. So I assume he'll get a little bit of playing time for a minute here, kind of see how he looks. But eventually he's just going to kind of ride the bench, third string option guy. And, I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen the Thunder do this before, bring someone in who's really low value at the time. Maybe you buy a little bit high on them in a sense. They gave up some decent value for a guy who's been in the G League. You end up flipping him later on. Like, I think if he gets a chance to prove himself as still a potential good player, you could see teams that need a point guard going for him. There's a world where Minnesota likes him later if Ayo Dosunmu doesn't work, which is a trade we can get into here in a bit. Or, a team like Houston might like him in the future. Because Van Vliet, if he has more injuries piling up eventually, like, there's a world where McCain becomes a good, valuable asset for OKC. And once again, I'm sick and tired of Sam Presti getting all these, like, great pickups and turning them into more draft capital. But it's he really is the 2K manager. So.
Yeah. But, and like I said, I think Sam Presti also definitely bought high. And I think... it's still Daryl Morey in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
Daryl Morey even went out afterwards and was like, "Yeah, we sold high on him. We're happy with the trade." I think both team. I feel like OKC probably even overpaid just a little bit, but also like.
Now, I will say Daryl Morey. That's an unnecessary comment to just be like, "Yeah, he sucks."
Yeah. Why do you think James Harden went and dragged him while he was in China?
Yeah.
Daryl Morey is not really the guy with the best record when it comes to player relations in his history. No. So that's also not really something that surprises me.
Yeah.
I
think sorry, good.
So you got it. You got it.
Oh, I was going to say, with Daryl Morey, like, I obviously now I have to be a Harden fan by proxy being a Cavs fan. But I've also always been a Houston Rockets fan because Olajuwon, I love the way he played the game, even though I didn't get to watch him play. But also Jeremy Lin went and played there after the Linsanity year. I was a huge Lin fan. So I'm a big Houston Rockets fan. And I remember that Harden saga, and I never realized, like, Harden was a loyal player until that. Like, that completely changed the entire route of Harden's career.
Because
since then, he's just like, that's it. This is a job. I'm going to treat it like one. If I don't like my boss, I'll get a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's requested, 4 trades in the last 6 years?
I don't know if it's 4 and 6. It's a high number.
Because it's Houston, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, LAC.
Yeah. He says he didn't request the trade in LAC, but at the same time, maybe
he was working together with. I don't think they were gonna move him without Harden wanting out.
No.
I feel like that's a PR move. But anyway, moving on to another trade. The next big one that comes to mind is Kristaps Porzingis to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga finally getting out after 4 years of requesting trade.
He wanted out so bad.
He's been begging to get out for years and even demanding one this year. And they also got Buddy Hield as well from the Warriors.
Who demanded a trade and didn't get out? Dalton Connect, poor guy. But
he'll be part of the Giannis trade. Don't worry.
Because Giannis is getting traded. Shout out Calci, but Calci's horrible. But yeah, Kuminga and Hield for Porzingis. A healthy Porzingis is exactly what you want next to Steph Curry and Draymond Green.
Absolutely.
If somehow Jimmy Butler comes back healthy, I know we're both kind of on the side of we think this is a lot worse than what Butler wants us to believe. And of course Butler wants that. He's a competitor. He doesn't want people to count him out. I love this trade. I think it's really good if Porzingis is ever consistently healthy again. Before we started, I told you I don't know if we'll ever see a healthy Porzingis again, a truly healthy Porzingis again. I think for Kuminga, what do you have to lose, man? Like, you didn't like where you were at. The idea of Jalen Johnson at the 3 and Kuminga at the 4 is an interesting pairing.
Johnson's like 3 or 4 inches taller than Kuminga, so according to the official heights, but we all know the official heights are complete crap.
I think you play Kuminga at the 4 though because he can't shoot. I don't like the idea of a small forward who can't shoot, so I'd rather Johnson at the 3.
Fair. But it also doesn't really matter too much depending on who you have. Because you've got Okongwu who can shoot. You've got Jalen Johnson who can shoot. You have Kennard and Buddy, and you have Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum who can all shoot. And then you got Dyson Daniels who's
a sharpshooter, just not... I love Dyson Daniels, but he can't shoot.
Didn't he hit one the other day and, like, it made news? Like he went like
surprised.
he went like 2 months without hitting a three.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened from last year where he shot like what 36% last year to this year where he just can't buy
it's
one.
rough. Yeah, but on the trade, what are your thoughts for the instead of going on Daniels? What do you think about the trade?
Um, like you said, I really like it for Golden State if he's
Yeah,
healthy. Which again, like you said, might not ever happen again. He has two really good where it's 2 seasons where he's getting heavy minutes where he's been healthy. One was with the Wizards, which I'll touch on the Wizards medical staff here momentarily, and the other was when he was like 20 years old on the Knicks and he made that All Star appearance and everybody thought he was gonna be Wemby before Wemby. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. For on the Hawks, Buddy Hield's not going to be there next year. He's going to get flipped in the offseason. But Jonathan Kuminga, I think you're buying really low on him. Yeah, like Kuminga has had stretches where you watch him and you're like, how is this guy not the starter on a consistent basis? And then he'll have stretches where Steve Kerr just does not give him a chance, and then he complains, and then he doesn't get any minutes. So I wonder what he's going to look like on a team where they're actively trying to rebuild, and they're going to give him a significantly longer leash. I think the rest of this year is going to be kind of a prove-it year for Kuminga, and obviously he's got next year as well on contract. But if he doesn't make it work, I could see his career dwindling after that, because I think this is Kuminga's chance to be like, see, I told you Steve Kerr wasn't the guy for me. I was right in demanding a trade all these years. This is the opportunity Kuminga has to be like, yeah, I'm that guy. And honestly, I really like it. I really like it for Atlanta. I like it for Atlanta more than I like it for Golden State. But at the same time, like I really like it for both teams. I think both teams walk away ecstatic with this move.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem Golden State faces is Kuminga was the exciting young player they could dangle in front of star player
Yeah.
trades for teams. And now they don't have it.
Yeah.
Like, let's say they do want to go out and join the Giannis sweepstakes again in the summer, or it's
Yeah.
just, X star becomes available, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Moses Moody going to be the player?
One thing I will add is once it was clear the Bucks weren't going to trade Giannis at the deadline, the Warriors were immediately eliminated because the only thing that allowed them to really match that contract was Draymond Green's expiring, $40 million, $50 million?
Something like that, yeah.
His contract needed to be included. So with Giannis not getting moved at the deadline, I do like Golden State pivoting and using that young piece they can dangle in a trade to go and get a player.
Yeah, I think it's a good move to immediately pivot and go get another.
Yeah, rather than holding out and letting Kuminga just continue to drive his trade value down. Because as the older Kuminga gets, the less of a young, interesting piece he is. And the more he's like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. And the more Steve Kerr's like, if you don't want to be here, we won't play you. And the more we get that relationship, the worse his trade value is going to get. And it was already 0.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a trend we'll see more and more in the NBA of like, you don't always get the Rudy Gobert packages for a great player or even like an exciting player. It's going to be a lot more like, okay, here's kind of this trouble piece. Let's kind of swap problems around and see if we can solve them. And not in a way of like, every NBA player is talented. There's a reason they made the league. But just like, think about, just for instance, again, I'm a Cavs fan. Of course, this is easy for me to pull out. But like, Garland, really talented player, but the Cavaliers need to compete now. They need someone healthy and available, and they need someone who's more of a proven star. So they go get Harden, who has his flaws in the playoffs, has some flaws on defense, but is 11th all-time in is it assists? I don't know, but like second all-time in three-pointers made. Like he's a proven star. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that. It's not going to be picks. You're not going to throw 6, 7, 8, 9 picks at a team all the time. It's going to be talent for talent. And I think I kind of like that swap. I think it's a cool change to trades. it maybe takes power away from OKC because they're the team with all the picks. But
Yeah.
that's my take away from that. But
Yeah. And
I
then
think the next. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
and then obviously there's one big trade I want to talk about, but I want to talk about any other big trade before we get to that point. The other ones are kind of
Yeah.
slipping my mind at the moment.
So I'm looking here. I think that the next two we could really actually next three. There's three trades that are really interesting. Some of them I love more than others. Timberwolves trade for Dosunmu. So it was Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and then 4 second-round picks. One of those looks like it's a swap possibly. And then Minnesota got Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips.
Yeah. I really like Ayo Dosunmu for the Wolves, and I'll get a little bit more into their situation here in a little bit because they did make a few other moves around the deadline that I want to talk about with them. But Dosunmu is exactly what they needed, that they really wanted from Conley, and they got from Conley for like 2 years, and then he got old.
Conley's back, by the way.
I was. That's what I was alluding to a second ago.
Oh,
yeah, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
But with adding Ayo Dosunmu, he's that defensive anchor, that point of attack defender they need, that can shoot 40% from three and doesn't lose his mind trying to do too much on offense. Right?
Yeah.
He can play into a system really well. That's the exact starting point guard you need next to Anthony Edwards. That's the exact starting point guard you want next to Rudy Gobert, next to Julius Randle, next to Jaden McDaniels. That Ayo Dosunmu is the prototypical point guard for that Timberwolves team. That's almost as perfect as you could have gotten.
I will say I don't know if I expect Dosunmu to start this season necessarily, simply because Dante DiVincenzo has started to look really good in that role. He's a little bit more of a veteran, so I think he'll be more decisive and also like spend more time thinking about certain things. So I think Dosunmu will probably come off the bench for the rest of the season, or at least the first few weeks. He's not like a pure point guard, and neither is DiVincenzo, but Dante has a little bit more rep. And that, he's had more reps there. So we'll see. I do like Dosunmu a lot. I think the Wolves made a great move to get him. I wish they would have gotten Kobe White too. I would have liked to seen how they could have gotten Dosunmu and Kobe White. That would have been a perfect move.
Yeah. Or even Trey Jones.
They were in the Giannis move, sweepstakes at the time.
Yeah, and that's another team where they made a big trade, dumped Conley and a first round pick for nothing, and they to try and get Giannis, and then that's another team that pivoted last second because they were like, we need something now. And obviously, like you mentioned, that Conley trade ended up working out extremely well for them because they're getting Conley back at $17 million cheaper.
Yep. And I will say with the pivot, I was very impressed by the team's pivoting and immediately saying we're still going to address our needs. We're not going to just let Giannis ruin it because he's done it before. Like, I like Giannis. He's a great player, one of the greatest of all time. His dramatics, I'm out, especially after this Kalshi thing. I know we can touch on it later, but
we'll get to that.
It feels to me like Giannis has never been serious about leaving, and it is purely a attention on me thing. I even remember I read a report that teams pivoted and stopped making offers because they decided they didn't really want the ego that Giannis brings with him on their team. Yeah. And I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But no, I really like that trade for the Timberwolves. The Bulls have that's another really high upside guy that they've gotten. And I've noticed they have 3 different trades where they give up decent player and get somebody who's not really that great right now, but has a ton of upside. And we'll touch on the Bulls here in a little bit, go a little bit more in depth into that. But I really like that decision to go and get Dillingham, who I'm sure they think he has a lot more potential than the Timberwolves think are capable of pulling out right now because they're trying to win.
Contending,
I
think it's a good deal. They keep going after guards, which is frustrating. Outside of the Nick Richards trade, which inside of Nick Richards going to the Bulls to save their front court was kind of a nothing burger trade that we don't really need to touch on, but I like it. Yeah, I think the Bulls are doing well. It does make you wonder how much they actually value Josh Giddey in the long term. If you're
Yeah.
getting like 9 point guards, do you really think Josh Giddey's your point guard of like the next 7 years? I doubt it
I,
at this
I
point.
I do like that Chicago's bottoming out. That's something
Yes,
that's
I
needed
agree.
to happen for
Yes.
like 10 years now. And they
Yeah.
just don't do it. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had 1 year where they kind of did it and then immediately pivoted.
Yeah. And they also bottomed out by adding, I think, the next trade we can touch on. They sent Vucevic out finally. Yeah, I think he's wanted out for as long as he's been there. He went to Boston. Boston got Vooch and a 2027 second round pick. Uh, Chicago got Anthony Simons and a 2026 second round picks. So cool. They swapped years on a second rounder. But Simons for Vooch, effectively.
Yeah, that's something that did happen a lot was those 2027 a lot of 2027 picks were traded for 2026 picks. A lot of teams are trying to stock up on picks this year because this is probably the strongest draft class going into a draft ever. Like you can go back and read articles from talking about draft classes before, and the only one where comes anywhere close to this level of hype is 1996, which the 1996 draft, they were like, there are 8 guys you can't miss out on. And of those guys, none of them were as good. A lot of them were not as good of prospects as the top 5 guys. And
yeah, this is an incredible draft.
Yeah.
Even the second round, like we're seeing these second round picks become valuable for this year
just because you have
teams want these guys.
Yeah, you've got all that top end talent, and then on top of that, like you have lottery caliber talent all the way through the first round.
Yeah,
which I know I'll get into. I'm just that's something I said before the recording. I'll touch on in a minute with with that 2026 pick, but it's a very strong draft class. So I do like the Bulls getting another pick this year. Simons plays there another year. I think he's either flipped this offseason or actually is he on an expiring?
No, I don't believe.
Yeah,
so.
I think he's going to be flipped in the offseason. I don't know who they would trade him for because that's kind of a difficult player to trade at this point.
Simons is such a odd player because he was so exciting. Like he was supposed to be the player for the future of the Trailblazers for a while.
He took a huge step back over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Let me confirm what his contract is here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is a contract year. I was wrong. I thought he had 2 years left.
Yeah.
This is the last year. He'll be a free agent.
Yeah, I don't expect him to come back.
This summer. So
yeah, I don't think he's coming back.
It's going to suck if he suddenly, because he's making 27.6 this year.
Yeah.
It really suck for him if he's suddenly down to like a, I don't know, mid-level exception.
Yeah.
I feel like he's worth more than that, but he hasn't really proven it recently.
No, he has not proven it in almost a few years now. Because he, as great as Boston has been this season, he really wasn't that great in Boston. He was really good offensively, or he was not really good, but he was good offensively.
40% from 3, 14 points a game. I'll be honest, I've only watched like 2 or 3 Boston games this year, but
yeah, but the problem is he was so bad defensively that it just doesn't matter. It really just.
I think Vooch is really the big piece here. Boston, their center for the future. Obviously, I like Keita. Like they've got some good backup centers, but Vucevic, it's like he can shoot from 3. He's a floor spacer, which is obviously what Missoula likes. The big question with him is when he was in Chicago, you never saw good defense. He was horrible.
Even when he was in Orlando.
Yeah. I think the question is he's actually, for the first time in his career, contending for a title next year. Will he show improved defense? Will Missoula be able to pull it out of him? He's got the build for it. Like, he's got the frame. He just has never had the wherewithal for it. I couldn't tell you. I'm not in the NBA for a reason. I wouldn't be able to play defense. But watching Vucevic, I can tell it's not good defense.
Yeah. Boston is in a weird spot where the offense is there already, even without Jason Tatum, who, in my opinion, was a top 5 player in the NBA as of last year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna ever reach that level again. He, you're a top defense without him, but it's the defense that struggled so much, and which is why I was a little surprised they went after Vooch, because I would have thought they would try to address that defense to try and get them to, because that's what won them their championship was the defense. And I thought they would try and go and build another really good defensive team. You can't do that with Vucevic as your anchor, unless he shows up and all of a sudden decides, you know what, I'm on a good team, I'm gonna play defense now. But he's also 30 now, so
I think he's 34.
Really?
Let me check for us. 35.
Oh my god, time is flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't. That doesn't move the needle for me on Boston going forward. That they need defense.
I think it's a worthwhile trade to make for Boston.
Yeah,
you want a center.
I like it in the context of they didn't have a center rotation because all of their centers left in free agency or got traded, and they just needed somebody so that they could be interesting this year in the playoffs. But I don't think Vooch is the long-term answer. I think they're going to need to find somebody either in the trade market this offseason or in free agency if they've got the cap space. I could see them going after like Mitchell Robinson potentially off the bench, but that's a story for the offseason.
The Celtics did kind of confuse me. They did make one other trade that typically would be really a nothing burger, but just based on how well this guy has played this year, they traded Josh Minott to the Brooklyn Nets for just cash considerations. I think that kind of plays into the money maneuvering and navigating they wanted to do in the midst of getting Vucevic. But I gotta say, I actually like when I factor in the fact that Minott trade was effectively part of the Vucevic trade.
Yeah,
I don't like it. Simons for Vooch straight up is fine, but losing a guy who's really good in Minott,
I don't think
make it worse in my mind.
I think there are several players on the Celtics who they just don't envision that, or at least were on the Celtics this season or have been. I don't think there. I think there's a lot of guys that just don't fit their vision for for next season or for the long term future. Granted, I don't know exactly what Boston's wanting to do because they lost a lot. They lost Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and got essentially nothing in return. Exactly nothing, but they didn't get a whole lot in return for really three extremely important role players on a championship team. So it's like I don't know. I don't know what the long term plan in Boston is, but I think that's probably what's going on with Minott. And like I said, Vooch just doesn't move the needle for me with Boston.
Yeah, what moves the needle more for me is just how good Jaylen Brown has been this year.
Yeah.
Because even if Tatum comes back not perfect, Brown's good. So, again, I like Vucevic. I don't like moving on from Minott. I think you bring up some good points there. But I think that's honestly not even the biggest trade for a center outside of, Porzingis. I think the penultimate trade here, before we get to what I know is definitely the trade you want to look at the most, and I don't blame you. First of all, that trade really did blindside me. I looked at my phone thinking, oh, what's the trade? He got traded where? This is a trade that upsets me, though, this next one, because it's not fair. I didn't want another really good contender in the East to compete against next year. The Pacers got Zubats and Kobe Brown for Benedict Mather and Isaiah Jackson. First-round picks. Mind you, that 2026 first-round pick from Indiana has got to have the weirdest protections ever.
Yeah,
it's protected 1 through 4 and then 10 through 30.
So I think what happened with that is the 1 through 4, Indiana's like, I think Indiana really watched the top 4 guys and was like,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
sure.
This is probably the greatest top 4 prospects ever. And that's no slight to LeBron, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. That's how insane this is. Granted, 2 of those 3 guys just weren't viewed as well as they ended up being, to be fair.
Yeah.
that they looked at those top 4 guys and were like, we're not giving any. If we have the opportunity to get those guys are more valuable to us than potentially losing this trade. And then the Clippers just didn't see that anything outside of the top 10 as worthwhile. Mm-hmm. But then also, if this pick doesn't convey, they get the Pacers pick in 2031, unprotected.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. Pacers probably will be bad by then.
Probably.
Pascal Siakam.
Siakam's older. Zubac is older. I believe Zubac is 30 now.
I'm almost certain, but I will confirm.
Halliburton.
He is 28.
28. Okay. Better than I was thinking. But he also only really has had 2 good seasons. Granted, he's playing next to the best point guard he's played with in his entire career. So that's going to be something to pay attention to. But it's definitely.
I like the trade a lot for Indiana.
Yeah,
it's good.
And they got rid of a guy that they identified as a problem in the locker room, and they've openly been like, yeah, he isn't a part of our future, and Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about moving Mathurin for Jared Allen in the past.
Yeah, I didn't like that idea for the Cavs, not because of the locker room stuff. I don't think Mathurin's as big of a locker room problem.
It's the money.
As seemed. Yeah, it's the money. And he's a good scorer. He's not an amazing shooter, but he's a good scorer.
Yeah.
Not a great defender. I think he has potential to be, but right now he's only really good at one thing, and how much do you want to pay him for that one thing? So I think for the Clippers, this is a great trade, maybe even better than for Indiana, because Zubac is a really great center, at least in the last 2.5 years he has been. What you run into is he's not a Miles Turner. He doesn't spread the floor. So next year the offense has to look entirely different for the Pacers, at least in the front court.
They still have Jay Huff, though.
Yeah, true. They do. But then the Clippers, they're in a great spot. You have Isaiah Jackson, who's a young, good front court player. You have Benedict Mathurin, who, they're going to re-sign him. I don't think they're going to let him walk.
No.
And then you have Darius Garland. And you have 2 new first-round picks for a team that really had no first-round picks. You've got a second-round pick in 28. You now have this pseudo-core. I do not think Mathurin or Jackson will be, true core players in the next 2 or 3 years. They'll be good role guys for it. But you have Garland, Mathurin, and Jackson. And last time we were on an episode, we were talking about how the Clippers had no young players. It was Terrence Mann for a while, and he's not young anymore, and he's not even there. So I'm really impressed by the Clippers this deadline. I really like what they've done. I've never been a huge Clippers fan, but I'm really happy with what they did. If I was a Clippers fan, if I was in LA or just somewhere and I liked the Clippers, I'm thrilled with this deadline. You have to say goodbye to Harden and Zubac. Now Kawhi Leonard's future is in question this summer, but I would be thrilled. The team really pulled through and did well.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with the Clippers as well. Although I do think this is a win-win trade for both teams. I think both teams walk away thinking, oh yeah, we fleeced this guy.
Yeah.
But I like it for Indiana. You're getting a true lob threat for Hallie for the first time in his career. And you're getting a legitimate defensive anchor for him as well.
That's very true, yeah.
Watching Miles Turner in Milwaukee, I think it's very clear that Halliburton has the ability to elevate a center to a completely different level than what they're normally at. Because you look at Miles Turner's stats before he plays with Halliburton, he's at 12 points, 8 rebounds, can block some shots, but really isn't that good on either side of the floor. He puts up good numbers, but isn't really that good past the numbers. And then you watch him in Indiana, and it's oh my goodness, he's 18 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks. What the heck?
Yeah, I think Turner, I don't want to say he can only play well next to Halliburton because I think he just needs a very shifty point guard, and that's fine.
Yeah.
He's played with the Bucks where they don't have one. I do like him still. I think he's a good player. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think Zubac, as much as he's not a floor spacer, he's so much better at defense and so much better at rebounding. The rim rolling he'll have.
Yeah.
He will impact that team in ways that Turner didn't.
Yeah,
it'll be noticeable.
He's gonna fill in the holes that losing Turner left, while also the holes that were on the roster with Miles Turner there are going to be non-existent. The floor spacing's going to be a little different, so the offense is going to have to look a bit different. But again, like I said a second ago, they've got Jay Huff, so they can turn around, and if they want to run the same offense that made it to the finals, they can put Jay Huff out there, who's averaging extremely similar numbers to Miles Turner right now in like half the minutes played.
Yeah.
Which is extremely telling of the level of play. And without Halliburton either, by the way.
Shout out Jay Huff, man.
Yeah, Jay Huff's been fantastic this season. Although he is extremely streaky as well. So you can't fully rely on him, but I think he can be an extremely effective backup center next to Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
But
oh, good.
No, you go, because I was going to transition into the next point.
I was also going to segue us into. I was going to say,
look at us.
You know who's also very streaky, not with scoring, but with
playing.
Stepping onto the hardwood, is Malachi Branham to the Charlotte Hornets. Oh, there was a couple other stuff involved, like Jaden Hardy went to Washington, D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, we got D'Lo.
Exum went there. Yeah, Chris Middleton, he went. Former
he was an all-star once.
Yeah, all-star champion, goes to Dallas. AJ Johnson, Tyus Jones, some first-round picks and stuff, some seconds. Marvin Bagley to Dallas, that's a sneaky good pickup. So, that trade was pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh,
Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 10-time all-star, NBA champion.
Yeah.
Robbed of Defensive Player of the Year a couple times. When I first saw that, I was like, what the heck? I walked into the newsroom up at the college I go to, and one of my friends was in there, and he's like, what do you think? And I just kind of ranted at him for a minute, and then I gave it like 10 more minutes of thought, looked at the trade a little bit more, and I was like, actually, Dawkins cooked. Demon Dawkins. And looking at it, the Wizards didn't give up any of their own picks. They gave up a Phoenix Suns second-round pick. They gave up a Warriors heavily protected first-round pick. They gave up this year's Oklahoma City first-round pick, which connects back to what I was saying earlier about the late first round this year is going to be similar to 15 through 20 in a normal draft. So that's not terrible, but also it's the 30th overall pick. So the Wizards, looking at it, the best prospect they gave up is the best asset they gave up is either AJ Johnson, who hasn't been really able to figure out a role for himself in Washington just due to the fact that he's so freaking thin.
Yeah.
Or the Oklahoma City Thunder pick, because that Warriors pick isn't going to convey.
Yeah.
Those two are far and away the most valuable assets they gave up in that trade, and then they get Anthony Davis, who if he's healthy, if he's able to put together a healthy season, that's an All-NBA guy easily. You got Jaden Hardy.
He is capable of healthy seasons.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who thinks he's always street close. This year, rough.
You got Jaden Hardy, who is he's a role player. He might stick around, might not. Oh well. And you get D'Lo, who's not staying. He's done after this year. He's not. He's getting.
Neither is Exum.
Yeah. Exum's not coming back either. Neither one of those guys I expect to be in DC next year. But I think Washington fleeced. I think Dallas was just like, you know what? We get an opportunity to get a first. We get an opportunity to get an interesting prospect in AJ Johnson. I think we take it and we just move on from the Davis era.
I'll be honest, I definitely have a more negative view of this trade.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a high price to pay for Davis in terms of what you gave up, and I think you're totally right on that. It is very worth it to give up Middleton, Johnson, and Bagley and those firsts to get. I mean, you got more than just Davis. Hardy's, he'll probably be a solid, 7th or 8th man. And it's not even the injury history with Davis. I think I look at the Wizards as a team that finally has an exciting young core again. I like Carrington. I like Sarr. I I want to see if Koulibaly ever turns into anything other than a defender, but I like the team. Trey Johnson's also fun. What bothers me is they've now made 2 trades for, older, veteran, very expensive stars. Trey Young, he's also injury prone. I do not think Trey Young is a player that elevates a team to a true title contender. Davis is, when healthy. My question is, in 2 years, in the 27-28 season, do the Wizards really want to pay him $62.8 million? Is that, how much of this is rushing on a young, exciting core's window, and how much of it is making the right trade at the right time?
Something I find one thing I'll add. Mm-hmm. Anthony Davis, his contract will expire before any of the really good players, young players you mentioned, are due for extension.
Yeah, that is nice.
The contracts match up very cleanly, and then on top of that, if they get a healthy season from Anthony Davis, and this kind of runs back to the medical staff I mentioned earlier. The Wizards' medical staff is very quietly excellent. Because you look at Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal never had a major injury until his career until he left, and then he hasn't played 40 games since. Kristaps Porzingis has 2 seasons where he's played 65 plus games, where he's playing legitimate minutes in those seasons or in those games. One was the year before his All-Star game, and then the All-Star game he obviously tore his ACL just before the All-Star game, and then the other one was in Washington, where he put together, I think he played 65 games that season on the dot, and he was shut down the last 14 games of the season. So he was extremely, extremely healthy throughout the year. And he was only shut down because it was like, oh, it's the end of the season, we want to bottom out, and that got them below cool. But
it is not my concern isn't the price you would be paying the rookies at that time or the young guys. It's if it doesn't work, right? Because AD 32 right now. I know people were dogging on him because he put on weight when he got to Dallas. Who cares? Even before that, it's not like he was a super skinny, lean player, right? Part of his value was the fact he had meat on the bones.
Yeah.
But because of that, the fact he's older, he's had these injuries. He has become more of a 5 than a 4. He's not able to move as quick as you need out of a power forward in the modern NBA. I worry that he will clog up the front court for Sarr, and I want to see Sarr really thrive.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, let's say it's the 26-27 year where he's $58.5 million for that season. Do the Wizards have a runway to say, okay, this isn't working with AD, he's healthy, but he and Sarr don't fit? How do you get that? How do you get the role players that will elevate Sarr instead of stagnate him? And Mike, I think this is very high risk on the fact that you have this really fun young core that was progressing. I liked Middleton just as a good veteran leader. I don't like Davis as much because he's more expensive and higher risk in terms of actually stopping the development of a guy like Sarr, who I think is the best prospect in DC right now.
Absolutely,
yes. I want to see Carrington become the best point guard he can. I don't know if that'll happen when he's behind Trae Young.
The one thing I have seen, Bub Carrington is more of a combo guard. He's not really a true point guard. Mm-hmm. Carrington has some holes in his game. I don't know if I don't think he'll ever reach the star point guard of a championship caliber team level. Mm-hmm. But although I do love Bub Carrington, he is a wonderful, wonderful person. I really want him to succeed in Washington. The one thing I did notice, or one thing I've noticed from the way that players are interacting with each other, Trae Young is willing to accept a smaller role. Mm-hmm. Right? He's already said, I understand this is a different team. I understand that I'm not the guy on this team. I'm not going to be the main focal point of the team. Maybe on offense he will be, but he's not the best prospect that DC is going to be building around. Alex Sarr is, right?
Yeah.
And really, I think when Anthony Davis, when he earlier today even, since we're recording this at 11:22 on the 7th, earlier today Anthony Davis went out and was like, I like this team. This team is very different than what a lot of people see it as. And I think Rich Paul is absolutely one of those people, by the way. I think he's very much one of those guys who's like, they're the Wizards. Haha. I hate that mindset, by the way. But I think Anthony Davis was saying that he just wants to sit down with the front office and hear their vision. And I think part of that vision is Anthony Davis really not being the first option. Maybe not even being the second option on this team. Because realistically, Alex Sarr should be that second option. And this is a team that also is just flat out looking to make the playoffs next year. This is probably the most talented team they've had during my lifetime. Or at least next year will be. Because they'll have a little bit of cap space to go and sign some fun players for off their bench. They could sign Peyton Watson, Mitchell Robinson if they want to. Probably one or the other, not both. And then you're having Alex Sarr in his third year, Keyshawn George, who's probably their second best young prospect in year three, going into year three. You got Bilal Coulibaly going into year four, and he's just a jump shot away from being really, really, really good. You've got Bob Carrington, who we mentioned, who's also going into year three. He's fun. Will Riley, the last 4 games, has been playing almost on the level of Keyshawn George, right? And Will Riley being our 4th best prospect and him playing as well as he has lately, it's like, holy crap, we have something.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I think they want to get into the playoffs. I've heard rumblings that Trae Young and Anthony Davis are transitionary players. Probably. Although I could see Trae Young being around a little bit longer if they sign him to a much more team-friendly deal. Which, Trae Young is going to opt in. He's going to make that $59 million or whatever, and he's going to have a prove-it deal or a prove-it year in DC where they decide whether or not they want to stay as stay together. And then Anthony Davis, I think, is going to be kind of a similar thing because, again, if he can get a healthy season, he's going to have 9 months to really just sit and get healthy. And if he can have a healthy season where he's an all-NBA guy, I think they'll be capable of finding somebody who's willing to give something interesting up for him. Mm-hmm. And really, you'll be signing. If you're able to trade Anthony Davis at however old he's going to be at the end of next season, you're selling high on him. And I think that's the idea. Because they got him for the lowest he's ever going to be available for him. And I think they want to try and get a healthy season out of him and then move him for whatever they can get.
Yeah, I think that's really fair.
Which, realistically, they'll get more than what they gave up for him.
Yeah, I do like the price that they paid for both players. I think it's a lot like the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade for me.
Yeah.
I see why it happened. I do think Jaren Jackson Jr. got sold way too high. I think that Utah overpaid. But in terms of just on the court, I want to see the production before I know how I feel about it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
fair. There's a lot of positives that could happen, especially if they do flip them for future assets. I feel we've seen so many times in the NBA, you get young, talented players, and then you buy too quickly into a superstar, and it hurts them. In fact, there could be an argument made that that's what happened with Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. I think less so. The Cavaliers have looked good, but they did just trade a young player to get a 36-year-old. Mind you, official, Cavaliers are undefeated in the James Harden era. 132-126, Cleveland over Kings. Let's go, baby! Harden got 23 points, 8 assists. I'll take it.
What was that shooting percentage?
Shooting percentage, 7 of 13.
Oh,
5 of 8.
Hey, look at that. He started off 1 of 6
in the second half. Yeah,
good for him. Good for him.
But yeah, I think that I just want to see it first. I know that's not the best analysis.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to really know how Trae Young and Anthony Davis will affect the Wizards until I do see it. They're 2 players I would not have expected to get onto the Wizards. And now that they're there, I've just had trouble really visualizing it so far.
Yeah,
so
and that's
we'll see.
fine.
I'll definitely be watching them next season if they get both players back healthy. That's going to be a team I want to watch.
Yeah, that's that.
Frankly, I haven't wanted to watch the Wizards in a long
Yeah,
time.
and if they're healthy, there's a chance that they can contend with the Pistons for that 1 seed next year if they're healthy. If they're healthy. Like that, there's a lot of talent on that team.
A lot has to go right.
Yeah, a lot does have to go right. They need.
And progression's not always linear.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Young guys are not always going to get better. Sometimes they stagnate. They get.
We are seeing that with Bob Carrington. But if Will Riley continues to play at the level he has the last couple weeks, if Keyshawn George takes another step forward, if Alex Sarr is able to play off of Trae Young the way we all know he's going to, and if Anthony Davis and Trae Young can just both hit like 65 to 70 games. If they're both, if everybody on the team is eligible for postseason awards, there's a shot. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think realistically we're probably in that 2, 3, 4 spot. I think there's gonna be. I think they'll be much closer to like the Knicks and Celtics than to the Pistons. I think the Pistons are gonna have another year where it's gonna be Pistons, wide gap, everybody else. Because they're going to be able to run it back next year.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a team that has potential to just have one of the better seasons in franchise history next season.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I think they have a vision, and I think it's good. I don't think the Wizards have had direction in a while. So it's nice to see it.
Will Dawkins is fantastic.
He's done a lot of good for that team.
Yeah.
And as we kind of look to, like, overall views on things. We've gone over every like major trade and even some more minor like mid-level ones.
Yeah.
2 teams, 2 winners, 2 losers, like maybe not like the biggest winners and biggest losers, but just 2 teams you find interesting based on how they did. Do you want to start or would you like
to I can start. I think the 2 teams that I was looking at, I'm like, dang, they did really well. Were honestly the Clippers and the Bulls.
Okay.
I really, really like that the Clippers really did some soul searching. They dumped Chris Paul's contract. I don't remember exactly who they got back for Chris Paul, but
nothing. Literally nothing.
Did they get literally nothing?
This guy Vanya.
They sent him to the Raptors. Don't know if he's going to play for the Raptors, but he's a Raptor now. Unfortunate farewell tour for him. I know he wanted to end his career as a Clipper. But they really took a deep look at their roster, realized we have no youth, and decided to address that. They get Garland, they get Matherin, who are both fun young guys. They get draft picks. That's good for them. Kawhi Leonard, they can flip him in the offseason, maybe potentially if he's not. Depends on some league investigations. Depends on whether or not he plays.
At least at the deadline, they met their aspirations. We'll see about the summer. Maybe they really do meet up with aspirations in a new way. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they'll have to branch off in another direction. But with the Bulls, they also did kind of the same thing where they were like, we've got a lot of aging guys on the roster, and they flipped them for. I think that something I really like for rebuilding teams is when you're first really hitting that reset button, taking just huge, really high upside guys, right? The Thunder did it with Alexej Pokusevski. The Wizards did it with Bilal Coulibaly, where you had safer guys on the board, sure, who are probably better for right now, but you take a guy who's going to be 3, 4, 5 years until they're going to be really good. So you get time to really go and get those draft picks. The Bulls went and got like 3 of them with Jaden Ivey, Ousmane Dieng. The other name's slipping my mind off at the exact moment we mentioned him earlier.
Simon?
No, Rob Dillingham.
My bad, yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of those guys have potential to be really, really at least good role players. Ivy's has had stretches on the Pistons where you're like, my God, do you build around this guy? Obviously, you don't do that because they've got Cade, but he's had moments where he's taken over when Cade's been hurt, where you're like, holy crap, he's good. Because he's one of the fastest players in the NBA when healthy, and he's fresh off a broken leg where he shattered it, very almost as bad as fellow Detroit star Aiden Hutchinson, when he played against the Magic, and it takes a while to recover, to get that athleticism back from a broken leg. Like you saw, I'll mention Aiden Hutchinson again. Shout out to my dad, by the way. He pointed this out to me. I've quoted him a couple times on that, and I know if he's watching this, I know he's gonna text me about quoting him. But Hutchinson was still good this year, but he wasn't game changing like he was the year before, and he got better as the season went on. With Ivy, we're seeing a lot of that skill stuff, like his passing, his playmaking, and his 40% 3-point shot. By the way, those came back immediately, right? Yeah. Those without a hitch. But the speed just has not been there early. The shiftiness hasn't been there early, and he's slowly getting there. So I think next year we might see that version of Jaden Ivey we saw a year ago before he got hurt. But that's a really good deal for the Bulls if they can get Ivey to that level. And then Ousmane Dieng, lottery pick, he's interesting as a wing prospect. Don't really have too much to say about him. And Rob Dillingham, he's got a lot of stuff he needs to figure out, but giving him a shot on a team where he has a much longer leash than in Minnesota, I like that for the Bulls. I'm going to mention one more team just because I don't know if you're going to mention them. Minnesota Timberwolves. They essentially traded Rob Dillingham and a first and a few seconds for Ayo Dosunmu, which is phenomenal return because they also dumped $17 million of Mike Conley's contract as well.
Yeah,
and
that's a big move.
Yeah, they walked away with a ton of value, and now they have the ability to use their MLE this offseason, which they didn't have before.
Who would you say are your two losers?
Two biggest losers. There weren't really a lot of moves I didn't like. I would say the biggest one is Miami. We talked about it before the show. Mm-hmm. Miami talks big, never does anything. Pat Riley likes sitting on his hands. I think he's too conservative with his. His trade deals and his free agency. I think that's hurt the Heat several times. They refuse to spend, whether that comes to trades or free agency. They just refuse to spend money. The other big team that I think lost really big was Golden State. Golden State really had one option at returning to contention, because let's be real, as much as ESPN and Bleacher Report like to call them contenders, and as much as their fans on Twitter like to say they're the best in the league, they are fighting to stay in the play-in right now.
Yeah, you lost Jimmy Butler.
And you lost Jimmy Butler the rest of the year. Jimmy Butler might never play again. But really their best chance at ever returning to contention was Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the second Giannis was like, you know what we're going to say. And the second the Bucks were like, we're not going to listen to offers anymore, that ended Golden State's title window forever, because they no longer have the ability to trade for Giannis. Even if they hadn't made that Porzingis trade, Draymond Green's expiring contract and Jimmy Butler's ACL injury makes it impossible for them to ever trade for Giannis now. So it's just that their window is officially closed. There's no shot of reopening it. The Warriors' best chance at returning to relevance anytime soon is to hit the hard reset button, which they're not going to do as long as Steph Curry is still in the league, which is unfortunate for Steph, but also at the same time, I think he kind of realizes that that's the case, because he's been campaigning to keep Draymond, even though he's been really bad this season, with the exception of that game against I think it was against the Wizards where he hit like 4 threes. Or no, it was against the Pistons, where he hit 4 threes.
Oh, okay.
And they're campaigning to keep him, and he's not really pushing for championship caliber moves anymore.
Yeah. I think for myself, the two winners, I won't go over the Clippers again because I had them. I think I like what they did. Just very short. You were really old, the oldest team in the NBA, had no future assets, no picks or anything, and now you have young core. I like the backcourt of Garland and Mathurin together. I think it'll be fun. You have some first round picks and second round picks. Go from there. We'll see what they end up doing. It's going to take us about 3 years to really see how it panned out for them. That's fine. I like it. Another big winner for me. I it is kind of hard to choose like a big winner, but I'm gonna go with the Pacers. I think that they got the best center that got traded. Like I think Zubac is the most talented and most impactful center. He got traded at the deadline. I think he's going to be huge for them. He brings a new level and style of defense. The way he plays offense is really unique to him. I understand he's a very traditional style center, so it's not like we haven't seen someone like him before. But just the way he's so valuable without doing anything crazy like unseen before. He's great. If he can fit next to a Tyrese Halliburton, which I think he can, I think we're going to see a Pacers team that's scary in the regular season before the turn of the calendar year. Like Indiana was kind of out of nowhere that last playoff run. And Zubac, I think, is better than Miles Turner. I think they upgraded. Halliburton, if he can come back even 90% of what he used to be, he's with a better team. They will look better. Siakam's still good. I like it.
And they still have a shot at getting a top 4 pick.
They do. They do. If they can get a top 4 pick, that's huge. I'm actually really hoping it ends up in that 5 to 9 range. Not out of hate for the Pacers, but really just let's get the Clippers like that one more piece. Let's really see what happens if they can have.
Let's bail them out a little bit.
Yeah.
And also keep OKC from getting a ridiculous squad.
Yes. But I'd like to see a little bit more talent going. Just more parity. That's really what I want. And then the last two, I won't go over the Heat because it's so obvious. They're losers every deadline, every offseason. Sick and tired of that team, but they deserve it for what they did to Dwayne Wade, where they just wouldn't pay him. I mean, like, Dwayne Wade, 30-second rant. Dwayne Wade deserved to have the end of his career that Steph Curry is currently having, where you don't compete for titles, but your team treats you like royalty. Because that is what Dwayne Wade is to Wade County. Pathetic organization, the Miami Heat. Pathetic. At least Dwayne Wade played for my Cavaliers, so I have a Dwayne Wade Cavaliers jersey. But still, pathetic organization.
You need to pull that out next time you're on the pod. That's insane.
I might have to. I told myself, if he ever played for my favorite team for half the season, I'd get a jersey.
That is an insane pull.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it out.
That is the Celtics Shack of the Cavaliers.
Or the Cavaliers Shack of the Cavaliers.
I feel like Celtics Shack was worse than Cavs Shack.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking because he was there too. The other big loser, we're going to go to the West Coast, and it's the neighbors of the Clippers, Lakers. I like the Kennard move. I like getting off the Gabe Vincent contract and only cost you a second-round pick. Kennard's one of the best shooters in the NBA right now. No defense. There's no defense on the team. No defense, no defense, no defense. They should have paid a haul to go get Herb Jones. I understand they're trying to go big fish hunting in the offseason. That's what they were trying to do before. That's what they wanted to do this offseason.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. You're going to have to pay Austin Reeves. This does almost definitely prove LeBron James is not coming back this offseason. They're going to go for a Giannis. You're not going to get him because he's not getting traded. They're going to go for... Maybe you can go get Paolo Banchero if the Magic are ready to move on. Like, there's going to be a big name that becomes available. I am very curious. I think they lost at the deadline because get a defensive player who can play next to Luka now and next year.
The Lakers are going to have to look very different next year because...
They should have gotten an Ayton replacement, at least.
Yeah. Austin Reeves... I still question his fit next to Luka long term. LeBron, obviously, he's got maybe a year left, maybe 2 if we're really
He's not going to be in LA.
If we're really lucky, he might have 2 more years left in the NBA period. I don't think he returns just because of that Jeannie Buss fiasco. And I can talk about Jeannie Buss and her impact on the Lakers for hours.
Episode, yeah.
That'll be another episode. I'll have to do an episode on the Lakers because holy crap. The Lakers aren't contenders they had to make a big move at the deadline if they wanted to have a chance at maybe having a run if everybody got hot and LeBron just had the fountain of life hit his knees. But they're not close to being to contention right now. They're just not good. And I think this roster, if they want to make another run at a championship, they're going to have to make a lot of changes to the roster this offseason. And I just don't know what to do with them because Luka is kind of difficult to build around, and the Lakers just don't have the assets to get the proper pieces around him.
I think if the Lakers really want to do something, wait to see if maybe Bam Adebayo finally gets out of Miami. If he finally says, I want out, I think Bam next to Luka would be nice.
But then you come down to, can they win a bidding war? Like, that's... Because...
Yeah, that's why I put them as a loser. I think this was their chance to get something. They did.
Your best shot was flipping. Your best shot at getting talent around Luka was trading LeBron. As much as it sucks to be like,
or at least Rui.
Yeah, and
you kept Connect.
Yeah, and he is a player.
He doesn't want to be there.
No, he doesn't.
I disagree on the Reeves part. I think Reeves does fit next to Luka.
Yeah,
the best versions of Luka we've seen have been with Reeves-like players. Not that they're exactly the same, the people I'm about to list. But
Brunson and Kyrie.
Other ball-dominant guards, yeah. He went to the finals with Kyrie. He could have made it with Brunson if the Mavericks didn't screw that up. Like, there's some real momentum about, true. But, Luka plays well next to another high-scoring guard. And he needs a rim-running center. He needs a defensive center, and he needs defensive 3-and-D wings. I do think it's hard to build around Luka because you need specific things, but I don't think the Lakers have targeted those well enough. DeAndre Ayton could have worked out, but we just know that's not how he will turn out. So we'll see. I don't want to belabor my points too much tonight. It's getting almost 1 a.m. for me, and I'm about to pass out here live on the pod, so I don't know if that's what we want. But I'm excited. I think it was a great deadline. I'm really happy. Maybe the biggest loser out of all of this is Chris Paul because he doesn't get the homecoming he deserved, which in tandem then makes the Clippers a loser too because why did they do that to him?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like that move for the Clippers. I don't like that move for Chris Paul, but also at the same time, it was going to happen. And then one more thing before we end the show and let you get some sleep. Right after the deadline, Giannis Antetokounmpo came out and announced that he was a shareholder with Kalshi, who processed $23 million in bets related to Giannis Antetokounmpo leaving the Bucks. So it's become heavily speculated that Giannis fabricated the report and profited off of fans, which...
Kalshi should be illegal.
Polymarket
should be illegal. There's no monitoring on insider trading with those things.
I think
the fact that it's now in sports betting, Giannis should be kicked out of the league.
I think the NBA does need to investigate that situation because that is suspect beyond comprehension. That is, I said it before the episode when we were talking about what we were going to cover today. That is arguably worse than what Kawhi did.
Oh, 100%. It's out in the open.
And
too.
yeah,
I'm proud of it.
And granted, it really the NBA just needs to investigate both more thoroughly, and then just if both players did what it seems like they did, and the NBA does nothing, then it becomes it's an accountability issue, right? They need to keep players accountable. You can't just let players go and defraud the fans, defraud the rest of the NBA. You can't let teams circumvent the NBA rules.
Here's the thing, Giannis really needs to understand, he didn't just pull a little silly move of, oh, I'm gonna get traded and then make money. That's money from fans who need money, brother. You have 10 generations of money already.
Yeah.
And you just stole from people.
Yeah. Granted, there hasn't been an investigation into it, so it's a It's a lot of
Yeah,
speculation.
It needs to be an investigation, but at the same time,
It needs to be investigated.
I just robbed you. I robbed you.
Yeah. It needs to be investigated, especially with how much Giannis has taken a victory lap on Shams for not being traded. He needs to be investigated, and I think the NBA has to crack down on Giannis if it's found that he intentionally fabricated that rumor.
Yeah, I have very strong opinions on sports betting in general.
Yeah,
and Kalshi and Polymarket being unregulated in it,
Kalshi and Polymarket have created more issues than anything else. But the bigger issue is, in my opinion, is the idea that of Giannis potentially defrauding fans. Really, is what it is. Assuming that the suspicions
if the investigation goes very south for Giannis, that's a really exciting note to end on. Hey guys, what if Giannis is defrauding fans? What if one of the greatest of all time doesn't care about you? What if he stole from you?
But yeah, it's a very concerning situation, and especially following the Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups scandals.
Yeah,
you have to crack down on Giannis. Malik Beasley still isn't in the league, even though he's been found not guilty in that whole situation.
Yep.
And he's been begging Detroit to give him a shot.
This is going to be a real test of what kind of commissioner Adam Silver is.
Yeah, and he has several that are just going on right now where it's like, holy crap.
Yeah. Then Silver, like seriously, like he's gonna lose a lot. I won't get too into it. I think maybe it's too late. I should call it a night.
Should have dedicated a whole episode to just this topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be, he's got multiple situations that are gonna test his ability as commissioner, and I don't envy his position at all. But yeah, we'll leave you guys off on that negative note. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
Aspire to make 23 mil off Kalshi. Those are my aspirations, baby. See what I did there? I tied them two together.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.